Oh, okay. Another blessing we have this morning is our speaker for today, who's going to ring in the new year for us. And one of the things that I always appreciate about Rita Conrad is her creativity, and that, oh drat, she challenges me. All right, here's Rita.
I never knew that, Brian. I thought I was just talking to myself up here. Well, here we are, another year, in case you haven't heard everybody else say it so far. I actually missed the new year coming in. At 8:30 last night, I said, I've had enough of the holiday, and I went to bed, which for me says a lot because I missed the second half of the Georgia-Ohio State game. And if you know me, gosh, that's like one step from death if I'm feeling that low that I missed that game. But it's a day for a fresh start, as we heard in the daily word. Bless you. And this is the day we recognize time moving on. We sing of times long past, that old lang syne. Today is the day we set all those resolutions. What we do today has the potential to set the tone for the entire year. No pressure. But certainly one of the gifts of this day is that we can create the life we envision, as Sheila reminded us. To do this, I'm going to talk about the 3 R's of a new year. And the first R that we begin with is reflection. For the last few weeks, the Wednesday night study group has been reading the book Ask This, which has various life questions to consider that concern how to grow spiritually, how to grow personally, how to build relationships and be more successful. I think for many of us, there have been a lot of aha moments in that class. But I came across another question. And for me, if you only have time to reflect on one question this New Year's Day, I invite you to consider this one, discussed by educator, author, and activist Parker Palmer. I have a hard time saying Parker Palmer. I have to practice that. From his book, Let Your Life Speak. He began by sharing a poem by William Stafford entitled Ask Me. Sometime when the river is ice, ask me mistakes I have made. Ask me whether what I have done is my life. Others have come in their slow way into my thought, and some have tried to help or to hurt. Ask me what difference their strongest love or hate has made. I will listen to what you say. You and I can turn and look at the silent river and wait. We know the current is there, hidden, and there are comings and goings from miles away that hold the stillness exactly before us. What the river says is what I say. Palmer said that the line, ask me whether what I have done is my life, was precise, piercing, and disquieting for him. He goes on to say in the book, those words remind me of the moments when it is clear, if I have eyes to see, that the life I am living is not the same as the life that wants to live in me. In those moments, I sometimes catch a glimpse of true life hidden like the river beneath the ice. And in the spirit of the poet, I wonder, what am I meant to do? Who am I meant to be? He said he once thought that the Quaker saying that he used for the title of the book, Let Your Life Speak, meant, let the highest truths and values guide you. Live up to those demanding standards by everything you do. It meant living a life like my heroes, he said, Martin Luther King Jr., Dorothy Day, Mahatma Gandhi. So he said, I lined up the loftiest ideals I could find and set out to achieve them. The results were rarely admirable, often laughable, and sometimes grotesque. But always they were unreal. a distortion of my true self, as must be the case when one lives from the outside in, not the inside out. I had simply found a noble way to live a life that was not my own, a life spent imitating heroes instead of listening to my heart. And these next words by Parker Palmer are the ones that for me are piercing and disquieting. He writes, "Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen to what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody, what values you represent. And whatever age we are, whatever stage of life we are in, asking ourselves whether what we are doing is our life is something to continue to reflect upon." And you can see that Parker also continued to reflect upon in his life. He wrote that first book probably in his 50s. Well, his last book he just published 3 years ago in his 80s. And this latest book is called On the Brink of Everything: Grace, Gravity, and Getting Old, which again, by the way, he published when he was 80. And when he was interviewed about the book, the interviewer said to him, "You know, I don't see too much in this book that's about aging." He says, "To me, it seems to be all about living." And Parker said, "Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I wrote it." And he went on to tell the interviewer, "I refuse to conspire in my own diminishment." That's a bumper sticker. The one society wants to put on him, presumably because of his age. He said, "Day by day, I ask myself, am I making choices that are life-giving for me and other people? Or am I making decisions conspiring in my own diminishment? In which case, I'm robbing the world of the only gift I really have to give, which is the fullness of myself." It's never too late to live the life you are meant to live, not the life others have charted for you, not even the life you once thought held everything for you. To begin living your real life, the second R of the new year comes into play, and that is renewal. To begin feeling renewed, in case you haven't already by the first 15, 30 minutes of the service, I'd like you to feel joy right now for no reason at all. Just because, right in this, oh, you've already started feeling it. Good, 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 good. So close your eyes. No one's going to see you do it. You can be as silly as you want. And go ahead and smile. And smile a little wider. And yes, if you feel like laughing, that's good too. And that, as you open your eyes, is joy in the moment for no reason at all, just because you're here. In that moment are all the potentials and the possibilities of the coming year. And be grateful to those potentials and possibilities. That's the second part of renewal. Our joy and our gratitude for our purpose in living those potentials and the limitless possibilities of this new year is our renewal and getting ready for the third R of the new year. And you know it well, so bring it out. What is it? New Year's. Thank you. I knew you knew it. Relaxation. That's the fourth R. That's the 3 R's part 2. Very good. Relaxation. But resolutions. You know, all those firm decisions we make to do something or not to do something, and those decisions only 46% of us actually ever keep. If I had ever kept those resolutions over the decades, I would have lost 3 times my current body weight. And clearly I needed a resolution to stick to my resolutions. So I was wondering how many resolutions people actually make. Evidently quite a few, because I found an article that said 138 New Year's resolutions for 2023. Yeah. The first 20 The first 36 are all about learning new software packages. Because this article is by the VP of Marketing. But there is merit in this article nonetheless, because he breaks his resolutions into 5 categories: learning, career, habits, finance, and health. We've all done those kind of resolutions throughout the year. And he did go on then to write a second article. He whittled it down to the 10 most common ones that people make. Exercise more, lose weight is 2. Yeah. Get organized, learn a new skill or hobby. Now this is number 5, and I think it should have been number 1. Live life to the fullest. It's number 5, come on. And actually, what does that mean, really? Save more money, spend less money, quit smoking, spend more time with family and friends, travel more, read more. All wonderful, all things that we've probably all done in the past. But not a one is about our inner selves, our hearts, which is where our true evolution comes from. So I'm going to invite you to replace this R with a new one that I learned last New Year's. I love the way the universe works. Last year I read this article on New Year's and I saw this word and I go, if I ever get to speak on New Year's Day, I want to use this word. Resolution. A very clever article. And it was written by an Anglican priest, Tish Harrison Warren. And as she opens it, I knew this was a woman after my own heart. She said, I accomplished 0% of my New Year's resolutions last year. I'm obviously no sage of discipline. And I thought, oh, good, I'll read on because you're not, because you clearly are a soul to me. But she wrote this wonderful article about 10 resolutions. And what she did is she went to her friends. She goes, I've never seen an article written about resolutions, what we're going to do, resolutions to feed our soul. So she went to her friends who were pastors and writers and scholars and spiritual leaders and came up with this list of 10. And I won't read all 10 to you, but I'll read my top 4 from her, and then top 4 from another article I'm going to read. The first one is take time to reflect. And this came from Jen Pollock Michelle, author of Habit Called Faith and Surprised by Paradox. She said, I want to add this idea of daily journaling. Practice times, I want to add to my daily journaling reflection because she said, I so often just journal things and then I forget about them. And I don't know about you, but I have lots of journals in my drawers I haven't looked at for years. I'm afraid to find out who I was then, that I need to burn really soon. But she said she stops herself and asks to look over her calendar, her project list, her daily journal, and ask herself what's working, what's not, and why. And that, to me, is a very worthwhile practice to add. This other one I've never heard before, gave me pause. Think about the third person. And this came from the Reverend Jonathan Michigan, a Catholic priest and writer, and he said, every time we act, our actions affect more people than we actually see. So when we send an angry email, you're affected, they're affected, but there's a third person there that's affected. It'll be perhaps their spouse, their child, their boss, their coworkers. So if we want to live in a more kinder world, thinking about that third person beyond the person we just emailed is a good idea. Andy Crouch, the author of The Tech-Wise Family, said his resolution is to engage with the off-screen world first. Yeah, all of us who get up and check our phones right away, this one's for us. Every morning, wherever I am in the world, I go outside before I look at a screen. I've managed to do this consistently for about 4 years. Often I go outside just for a few moments, but as soon as I step outside, I not only find my senses coming alive, I also find myself feeling smaller. a creature in the midst of creation, rather than the God of a tiny glowing world. It's been kind of ridiculously transformative, ridiculously that is, given how simple this discipline is. I found myself far more grateful, far less anxious, and far less interested in whatever my screens have to tell me that day. Also, for the first time in my life, I consistently know the phase of the moon, which doesn't seem like such a small thing. And the last one I'll share from her article has to do with what you said about resting. It says, keep the Sabbath. And this was from Trillia Newsbeth, the speaker and author of many, many books, and said, nonstop work and activity isn't the way humans are made. Even if it's work that you really, really enjoy, we need to rest. So she said, I'll spend one day each week resting from all forms of work. It will be an act of worship and a declaration of my need for spirit. So that wonderful article sent me searching for other resolutions, and there's only one other article I ever found. So you'd think that there would be 138 of these. There's actually only 20 out there that I found. This article and the second article by Frederick Broussard, a United Church of Christ clergyman, and his wife, Marianne Broussard. And they too have 10. I'll only share with you 4 of them that I think are ones that are new to us. Of that 10, I ran down the list and go, yeah, this is unity, that's unity, that's unity. So, but as a reminder also, I will cultivate the art of making connections. I will pay attention to how my life is intimately related to all life on the planet. I will cultivate the skill of deep listening, and I will remember that all things in the world want to be heard, as do the many voices inside me. I will give up, this is what I'm going to put on my list. I will give up trying to hide, deny, or escape from my imperfections. I need to own up to those. Embrace them. I will be willing to learn from the spiritual teachers all around me, however unlikely or unlike me they might be. And there's one more I'm going to add to my own list from Paul Smith, a Southern Baptist minister that evolved his church into integral Christianity. And he has a chapter in his book entitled Own Your Divinity. And that's one I need to put on my list. I will own my divinity, because we all know we are light. There has been light. It comes through us. And we were reminded by Jesus that, yes, we can do as he did, and yet we run from that. We diminish ourselves. So as Yoda says, there's no try, only do. So this is the year I do own my divinity. I will not simply try to be Christ, but Nike it and do it. So they're Joyceisms. I just follow you around. So as we enter this new year, let us set our resolutions based on what life is trying to live through us, refusing to conspire in our own diminishment, feeling joy for no reason at all, and gratitude for all the things you've yet to create, coming from the place of embracing, expressing, owning our divinity. Happy New Year.